think I click on the Yahoo page, and they're torturing CW Punk. CM Punk, whatever his fucking name is. I click to another page, and it's endless CM Punk fucking tearing into it. And now I get intrigued. I go, how bad could it fucking be? I'm not going to get the fight to watch it. I just wait till some fucking dude
post the link,
post it on. And sure enough, 10 seconds after I said that, bing, a link comes up with the fucking fight, and he looks horrendously bad. And I look at him, Lee, on the floor, and I click it out, and I leave the room for some reason to smoke a joint or something. I come back, I open up the computer again, I get my notebook out, and there again is more CW, whatever his fucking name is, Punk. And I, for 1 minute there, I go, Jesus Christ. CW Punk doesn't matter in your life this much. Like, there was just so much hatred about this guy. And at the end of the day, the way I looked at it was, from what I heard, he gave up wrestling.
What do you mean?
What, did he give up wrestling? Like, whatever.
Yeah, he's not fighting. He's not wrestling anymore.
Was he rich? Like, was he rich?
Was, from what I've heard from, like, Steve Simone, and he was, like, one of the top in the WWE. And I think, don't quote me on this, there might have been, like, a contract dispute or something to that sort. And then at that point, like, he was going to come back, maybe not come back. And then that was 2 years ago when he joined the UFC.
Okay, so he started training somewhere at Duke Rufus.
Yeah.
Which is a hard academy, and you'll learn a lot. It's a lot to get absorbed. And they got the guy a UFC fight. Now, in my world, you know what, man? He was fucking delusional. You know, he was a little bit on the delusional side. I know, just as a fucking comedian, that if you're going to fight, you have to be doing it for a while.
Oh, yeah.
And you have to have a couple of fights in the competition level, then a couple fights. You know, it just takes a couple things that the record's never going to come up. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's never going to come up. You went to a competition one time, and when you go to those competitions, the regular karate ones, you fight like 3 times.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you fight like 3-minute rounds or something until the winner gets decided. It's not full contact, but just that semi-contact, Lee, teaches you how to move your hands, what to block for. Those karate kicks are slick. They fake to your fucking stomach, and they pop up to your fucking face. You can't touch the face, but you can touch the body. And from there, you move on to a few jiu-jitsu tournaments. And then from there, you do a couple MMA things, right? This would be what I think would be the obvious fucking pattern. This is what I'm just assuming.
Yeah.
Okay, and after you go 8-0 in the MMA lower division, you know, fights in Tarzana on Saturday night in the back of a church, that type of shit, you get $52 and your trainer gets $11. After 8 of those, you send a tape to Joe Avila, whatever his fucking name is, the guy who got fired from the UFC, and they decide yes or no, or they hear about you in the something, you know. So when I didn't see, for me in my world, I really didn't know. In my world, it could have been that CM Punk was a wrestler, but maybe in high school he boxed. Maybe in college he fucking
did something.
Was an NCAA champion wrestler. I didn't know what the fucking particulars were. But then I find out this guy's got no credentials whatsoever. That's what you're trying to tell me. Like, no credentials. He went from professional wrestling right into this fucking thing.
That's what, yes.
Okay, and then he goes in the ring and he gets fucking demolished, right?
Yeah, and to be honest, you asked earlier, anything you heard about him? I forgot. About maybe 3 to 6 months ago, there were articles going around that I read that he had lost like 15 out of 16 fights that they had brought in for him in the gym, like secret fights. So that's when I heard like the negativity first started that I started hearing, because I don't really go on boards, and obviously I'm not in the world, so I don't know anything. But that, like, I heard he lost 15 out of 16 like pre-fights, because I was wondering why they didn't do that with him. And they probably just can't because he's so famous and popular. People would go for his knees, or maybe they don't want people to see him losing, or who knows.
You know, man, absolutely. At the end, CM Punk raised his hand, and they agreed to let him fight. Now, in my world, where I'm coming from, I think it's a business move, correct?
Yeah, probably at some point.
It's a business move, because there's no way Lee Syatt wakes up tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock in the morning, and he calls me. He goes, "Hey, cocksucker, this week I'm calling you, but I got bad news. I'm quitting. I'm going over to Searson kickboxing at 10 o'clock. I'm going to start kickboxing, and then at 2 o'clock I'm going to see Justin Fortune, and I'm going to become an MMA fighter, and I'm going to the 6:30 jiu-jitsu class at Alberto Crane." And I'll be sitting there going, "Lee, what the fuck are you talking about?" And all of a sudden, a year from now, you call me up and you go, "Hey, what are you doing Friday night? Can you come and corner me?" Corner you? Yeah, I want to box this dude up in fucking Tarzana. That's the evolution, Lee. But if you come to me tomorrow and go, "In 2 years, I'm going to have my first fight," I don't know where they're going to give it to you. But let's pretend you call Rogan, and Rogan goes, "Yeah, I'll talk to Dana, and we'll put you in the fucking UFC." It's not that simple. It was because you showed up with an envelope. And the UFC knew it, and they took a chance.
Well, to me, it seems even aside from CM Punk, it seems like the UFC and the WWE must be doing some sort of deal because they're using CM Punk, which the WWE must own some part of the name. You can't call yourself your wrestling name in the UFC, which is kind of weird. But it's a lot of people are saying it's unfair, and I guess it is. But at a certain point, you have to understand, like you said, the UFC is a business. So this isn't like a state-run UFC, like a fight league. This is a business who can do whatever they want. But like the one thing I got from him, and I just feel terrible. He just seems so lonely. Like when I was watching that, like the embedded or whatever, he was just in his house. Like he's getting all this hate online, and I felt like his speech at the end was a little bit corny. Like it just seemed a little bit out of place at the UFC. But it had a nice message, and I feel like he's a nice guy, and he's just getting shit on like constantly.
I sat there last night. Here I am, a little on the stone side, and I'm sitting there and I'm thinking to myself, well, you know what, man? At the end of the day, would Joe Diaz have done it? Fuck you.
Yeah, fuck no.
Fuck you. I would have had an anxiety attack walking to that octagon. That my head would have blown up. Even if I would have trained for 2 years, even if I lost 15 out of 6 or whatever the fuck it was, I would have had the anxiety that I would die. I would die. I could have dealt with the 15 in the fucking octagon. I would have lost the first 3, and then at least the next 3 fights, I could throw a punch. I would have got a sweep. I would have got a hip escape, back to my guard. I could do those simple fucking things, but I wasn't gonna. And then maybe the 9th fight, I knocked him down and I got on top of him and the time ran out. So I did a little fucking well. I wouldn't have been ready for the UFC. I would have fucking had a nervous breakdown. So in my mind, all I wanted to say on Twitter was, I didn't know who he was. He looked like a fucking dork to me every time I saw him. I mean, it's not like he came in looking like Brock Lesnar all yoked and shit.
No.
You could see the steroids wore off. You could see that. It doesn't take a fucking genius. And he went in there. He got beat up like that. People were like, he looked like an asshole in front of 11 million people. I got to tell you something. To me, he looked like a guy with balls. I wouldn't have done that.
Hell no, I wouldn't have done it either. But
I don't like how people say he was delusional. He raised his hand. Maybe he was delusional. But somebody should have said, "Sit down, DM. Let me talk to you about something." Listen, things are bad. Those guys hit really fucking hard. You were in professional wrestling. They don't do dick in there like what they do in the UFC. They body slam you. Those punches to the fucking head.
Right.
You'll hear rings later on. You'll think that somebody grabbed you by the head and they tapped. That's how fucking hard those punches are to your fucking head.